We are going to review some of the questions together. This can help you to prepare for the test and see different type of examples. On question 52, we are going to factor out the greatest common factor, 10. You will have c squared minus 13c plus 40. Because c squared, leading coefficient, is only 1, we can solve this in the easy method. Factors of 40 that could add up to 13 are negative 8 and negative 5. So I can write my factors as c minus 8, c minus 5, and we still have the 10. Look at 53. We have a greatest common factor, 5. We will factor that out first. 3x squared minus 2x minus 5. Now I will multiply a and c to factor this because the leading coefficient is not 1. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Factors of negative 15 that can add up to negative 2 is 3 and negative 5. How convenient. We're going to separate that into a positive 3x and a negative 5x. We still have minus 5. We still have 3x squared. We still have our 5 in here. We're going to factor out the first groups. Here's my 5. On the first group, I have 3x as the common factor. It will give me x plus 1. On the second group, I have negative 5 as the common factor. It will give me x plus 1. Now, on each of them, I will find a binomial, common binomial, and then factor that out one more time. 5, I have x plus 1, this is my common binomial, and 3x minus 5, that's my second that's my second part, and close parenthesis. Writing this is equal to the writing 5 times x plus 1 times 3x minus 5. Here is 24, excuse me, here is 54. We have a greatest common factor. We're going to factor out 2, x squared plus x minus 2. Find factors of 2 that could add up to positive 1. That's positive 2 and negative 1. They multiply to get negative 2, and they also add up to positive 1. So our factors are going to be x plus 2, x minus 1. We still have our 2. Here's question 55. Factor out the greatest common factor. It turns out that we have an easy style question. Also, this is difference of two squares. If you can remember difference of two squares, you should know that this will be equal to 25 and p minus 2 and p plus 2. But let's go ahead and write this a little bit more in detail. I have 25 here, p squared plus 0p minus 4. Factors of 4 that can add up to 0 are negative 2 and positive 2. So I know that p minus 2 and p plus 2 are going to be my factors. We still have our 25. Let's look at 56. Because leading coefficient is not 1, we are going to multiply those two, 2 times 5, and get 10. And we will find factors of 10 that could add up to 11. That's 10 and 1. So we will separate 11 into a 10n and one more n. This was a positive 10n. You still have your 2n squared up front and plus 5 on the back. We're going to group first term and second term, first 2 and second 2. Find greatest common factor on each group. Factor out a 2n. You will have n plus 5. And factor out a 1. You will have n plus 5. N plus 5's are the common binomial, so let's factor that out one more time. N plus 5 factored out. You have 2n and plus 1 left. Let's look at 57. This looks like a good example of grouping method. We're going to group the first two and group the next two. In the first two, greatest common factor is x squared. So let's factor out an x squared from the first two, x minus 3. On the second group, 16 is a common factor because it starts with a negative. Because leading coefficient is negative, I want to factor out a negative 16. Then I will have x minus 3 inside. We must see matching binomials throughout this process. Now, if I factor out my matching binomial, I get x squared minus 16. X squared minus 16 looks like another example, just like we did in question 55. This is another quadratic equation where we have x minus 3, x squared plus 0x minus 16. Factors of 16 that could add up to 0 are negative 4 and positive 4. So we can write this as x minus 4 and x plus 4. We already had x minus 3, so this is the final form of our factoring. Let's solve a couple more examples. 6 times negative 6 is negative 36. Factors of negative 36 that could add up to 5 is 9 and negative 4. We're going to separate this into a 9m and a negative 4m. This is a positive 9m. We still have our 6m squared and minus 6. Now, factor out the greatest common factor. 3m factored out, 2m plus 3, negative 2 factored out, 2m plus 3. We're going to factor out the matching binomial part. We will have 2m plus 3 from the matching binomial, 3m from the first, negative 2 from the second. Here's another example. Factor out the greatest common factor, 2d from everything, d squared minus 4d minus 32. Because leading coefficient is 1, we can use the easy method. Factors of negative 32 that can add up to 4 are negative 8 and positive 4. So we can write d minus 8, d plus 4. And we still have our 2d up front. Last example. Leading coefficient is 1. We're going to find factors of 54 that could add up to 16. It's going to be 8 and 8. So I can write y plus 8, y plus 8, which can also be written as y plus 8 quantity squared.